read you pieces of it. New as shit. 20 years. The ancient young. All right. I was born into the world falling, while grasping at my calling, yet with rough, gentle hands extended, they were gifted as they lifted this quick-witted little whiz kid. To me, they were committed. When away the world tossed me, they effortlessly caught me, brought me into a new norm, taught me my function and form, how to keep a clean home, how not to be lonely when I am alone, how to be creative and to plan, how upon my own too I can stand, sans marriage or a man, to cultivate my own land, to provide for these babies, these grand elder lovers whose 8-rock black made me. Mind my mothers, they brought me up safely, and when the noonday sun hated me, they were my shade tree, they gave me bravery. Influence who I'd grow to be, put me onto this here poetry. Like master potters, they shaped me. These black women raised me. At me, she would fuss. Woo! Sorry, y'all. At me, she would fuss, but never, ever over.
Take your time.
Bearing a being of benevolence, evangelical of eloquence, she was well convinced that the way in which I was trained up was the stuff that scripture was made of. Everyone called her Aunt Betty. And now and then, as the sun's setting, my mind returns to fun stepping in her backyard garden where we would pick peas, and where beyond the swing set stood this really big tree where we would also have to pick our switches. In every room, a Bible and a television, both ColecoVision and Sega Genesis, which meant lots of cords with extended extension tips. Her Chi-Town muster governed the way she'd conduct her elevated mission, so we were trained, track disciplined. But still she was there in the wings. 6 years old, in the first grade, the very first time I ever took to a stage, she beamed when I shined. She was my stage light. Through her eyes I caught sight of the majesty her God had for me when she and I took flights of fancy on my broken little wings.
My Lord.
She was that Louisiana paradise stock. Toni Morrison could not have written her any more clearly. Her blood ran deeper than the black gold that coursed underfoot. Mixed in with the potency of bumpy-faced gin, she bore the birth of 7 seeds, a few of them involuntarily. She was my G. A little lost girl in a wonderland, they called her Alice. Spent her early years not knowing how to challenge because she was too small to dodge the giants enthralled with her innocence and vulnerability. Their touchy-feelies left her bereft of the ability to give a fuck less, so eventually she started to give up fuck's best. When magic words covered her misery, she observed and turned to mimicry, meaning the same situation that she herself was placed in, years later her children would grow to lay waste in. A messy world not of her own making. Young thoroughbred, fast stallion, out of molehills she built magnificent mountains. My Nana Alice, she was my G. A drunken matriarch, but it was as honest as truth could be. Gave me my first taste, kept Copenhagen in her cheek, a speech and tone, loving and terse, a Saturday night special tucked neatly in her purse, a strong will not for the weak, she became our Nzinga, warrior woman taking heads in battle, dripping the blood of her enemies from the corners of her lips, eyes piercing the hearts of anyone who dared darken her door at ungodly hours. Potion maker with unapologetic behavior, she could slap fire from water, get blood from turnips, while holding us littles in the gentlest of arms, in the warmest of beds, in the darkest of nights. She taught me to stand firm, to do a thing called whatever the fuck I want. That heaven is what you make it, that even when full, a lioness is always on the hunt, and there are pieces of her and pieces of me. She was gentle and light. One could travel eons by looking into her eyes. Spoke of hereafters, picked cotton and up pieces of families' broken situations. She was Big Mama in a short woman's frame. Put cabbage leaf in my diaper, mixed concoctions that could heal any ailments. A root worker before the term became the norm. She would strip down and run wild through rainstorms. A collector of all the things. Trinkets and photos, broken teacups, shadow boxes, yarn spools, and baby teeth. If I reached into the center of my eccentricity, there at its core, my grandma Mildred would be. With her 11 children birthed on dirt floors, and a kindness and laughter that rivaled those of her own, she took punches and gave them in return, heeded her hunches as opportunities to learn. Her mama Choctaw, her baba Mississippi grown, this confident jawline, these high cheekbones, the result of the loins from which I was sprung. She sprung free from a marriage that took more than it could give. In a time when women were defined by their husbands, she chose to independently live, and live she did, feet away from the fields where she would pick cotton, understanding that with each finger prick, she too was picking all of our destinies, and that she was blessed to be in the land of the living. Hers are the prayers that still carry me. Separated by distance and systems, I always felt her divine wisdom. She would hug me every time as though it was the first time. Grateful that although I didn't know her that well in life, I know her fully from the other side, and I hear her whispering. I hear her whispering. I hear her whispering in harmony with all of me, which is all of them. Beyond genome and skin tone, the metronome by which my heartbeats keep time, they are with me, all drunken and biblical and country and bougie and loving and magical. My heritage and harmony, my silent symphony, whispering musicians, inspiring wisdom, ethereal material, my sound intuition. I am living them. Granny.
Yeah.